Welcome back. The interbank foreign exchange market has received a sum of $210 million from the Central Bank of Nigeria to meet customers' requests in the various segments of the market. Specifically, the SME segment got the sum of $55 million from this latest intervention, and this brings the total amount received so far this year from the CBN to $260 million. Well, let's talk to one of the research analysts at the financial derivatives company, Chiamaka Madu, for more on this. It's good to see you again, Chiamaka. Now, let's begin this conversation with the CBN intervention in the SME segment, which has been put at $260 million so far this year. Will this translate into cheaper imported commodities?
Well, as of November 2017, first and foremost, I think we need to commend the CBN for its intervention scheme, because if we look at how the market was a year ago, SMEs couldn't even access Forex. And even when they did, they accessed it as high as 490 naira to $1. But now we've seen the interventions, and as of November 2017, the CBN intervened in the Forex market with about $1 billion. And of which $260 million was, attributed to the SME space. Now, whether this would, translate into cheaper commodity prices, is dependent on whether the product that this SME is bringing to the country, whether it's commodity sensitive. Now, what do I mean by this? Whether these commodities they bring in are necessaries that consumers would, consume or purchase. And aside that, I think it's a welcome development, these interventions, by the CBN. And another good news is the fact that the UK of recent just, gave Nigeria $750 million in export credit facilities. So all these interventions in the SME space, in the near to medium term, the consumers will begin to feel the impact.
Now, so much good news and interventions there. But let's talk also about the scrapping of all charges on personal travel allowance and other related transactions by the CBN, which also comes across as some good news. But I'm sure consumers are eager to know if this will be passed to them.
Well, I think first and foremost, we need to understand what the PTA means. The PTA is personal travel allowance, which is for consumers who are, going on vacation or leisures or activities. Would it mean more spending power for the consumers? Yes, it will. If the charges are scrapped, yes, it will mean more spending power. But if consumers are thinking it will translate into cheaper price of commodities, well, I don't see how that has a direct impact on that. Because if you look at the funds needed for personal travel allowance, and if you compare it against the amount of funds needed to bring in commodities into the country, the PTA is far less than the amount needed to bring in commodities. So is it going to mean more spending power for consumers who are going on vacation? Yes. But does it mean it's going to translate into cheaper price of commodities? I don't think so.
Well, why would we wait to see how that plays out? Let's move away from the Forex market now. Petrol scarcity seems to have returned. Why do we continue to experience this, and what does this mean for commodity prices?
Well, I think we need to answer the fundamental problem. Why do we continue to see fuel queues at the filling station? Usually during the festive season, we see queues at the filling station. Then when we get into the new year, everything just balances out. But since the beginning of the year, we've continued to see long queues at the filling station. And that's because, all prices have increased. We need to recognize the fact that there's been an increase, in all prices. And that has made landing costs to bring in this fuel into the country very expensive. Currently, the landing cost now for bringing in fuel into the country is about $177. 177 naira, per litre. And if you compare it to the selling price of 145 naira per litre, you can see the difference. So this hasn't even motivated, oil marketers to bring it into the country. Now, NNPC is the only importer, the sole importer of, bringing in fuel into the country. And currently, I do not think that it can meet the demands of this country, of the country. Now, will it be a temporary problem, or do we see it, recurring over and over again? Well, I think it just depends on if the fundamental issue is addressed, which is the problem of subsidy. If the federal government is willing to pay the, difference between the cost price, which is the landing cost, and the selling price, then we should see motivation on the part of the oil marketers to bring in fuel into the country. But unless that is addressed, we might, be seeing a recurring case of, queues at the filling station.
Research analyst at the financial derivatives company, Chiamaka Madu, thanks for all this. Lately, the Nigerian capital market has recorded an increase in mutual funds as a result of what fund managers describe as the need for risk mitigation. Following the official listing of 3 of such funds by Stanbic IBTC Holdings on the Lagos-based FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange, the Executive Director, Debt Capital Markets for West Africa, Kobe Benti-Angel, tells Channel's business producer Temple Ashaju the factors responsible for the sentiment.
Listing of all these funds and whether equity or debt right now, has it made the exit of investors easy?
Yes, it has. I mean, for all the funds anyway, if an investor wanted to exit, you go to the fund manager and then you present an exit request and then they will buy you out. Now, when it's listed, you have that option as before, but then also potentially you could have an investor trading out their position with another investor via the exchange. So certainly it does provide it improves the number of ways in which you can exit.
Okay, so let's talk to us now about the composition of your investors in the mutual funds that you have.
So you have typically the what you call the institutional investors, so the likes of pension funds, insurance companies, who have outsourced their investments. You also have corporate, they call it corporate treasuries, who want to, they have excess cash balances and want to make a decent return on that. They are investors. Then you have the high net worth individuals, from private banks, as well as, just the workforce employees who want to have a structured saving sort of program. So maybe once a month, every month, they have something they set aside and they put it in here. And it's really a fantastic way to grow your money. So a variety of investors, whether it's retail or corporate, that actually support this fund.
It's also been noticed in recent time, especially that a lot of foreign investors are also keying into some of these mutual funds. How much of that is represented in Stanbic IBTC funds, especially the ones that you've just listed today?
Okay, so most of the foreign investors actually, because they are these are sizable institutional investors, they usually prefer a direct investment, right? So they wouldn't typically go through a mutual fund because they believe that they are skilled enough, they understand the asset class and can make their own call in terms of placement. So through their nominees, and we also have Stanbic IBTC nominees that provides that service to them, they can then instruct on what exactly they would like to put their money in. But for the funds, typically it's more the smaller investors and those that don't have specialized investment units that want to outsource, that function, who patronize that.
And that's our show today. Thank you for watching. I am BC Adebayo.